Mace Windu, the acclaimed Jedi Master of the Order, considered by many as the most powerful Jedi of his era, in some eyes his power even eclipsing the raw power of Grandmaster Yoda. Mace Windu was without a doubt an absolute combative juggernaut. He could level armies with his hand-to-hand combat alone, and not only his skill but advancements in combat rank among the great Jedi of old. Welcome to my How Powerful series, where we analyze a character from their affinity with the Force, skill with the lightsaber, and finally, their weaknesses. Today we will be breaking down without a doubt one of the most powerful Star Wars characters within canon, and a man who not only went toe-to-toe with, but disarmed perhaps the most powerful Sith Lord who has ever lived, and undoubtedly the most powerful of the era, Darth Sidious. Mace Windu hailed from the world of Har Kal, where the people of the world already had a strong inherent aptitude with the Force. When Windu was 6 months old, the Jedi visited his home planet and desired to take the young child to their academy for training. Since Windu's parents had perished previously, his clan gave the child to the Jedi to be trained, to one day aid the galaxy and all those who reside in it. Although Windu grew to be an extremely skilled young Jedi learner, the Order became concerned with his progress, as despite multiple attempts, he found himself unable to successfully build a lightsaber. For months, Windu experienced visions of himself wielding a purple lightsaber in combat, until one day requesting the Order leave him on the planet of Hurricane until he returned with the lightsaber he had so often dreamt of. Eventually, by aiding the natives of the world, Windu was gifted a purple crystal and successfully constructed his lightsaber. Graduating to a Jedi Knight, Windu trained several apprentices to knighthood. Although he was occasionally looked down upon for his harsh nature, the Council or Order at large never questioned his results, as his students appeared as bright spots among the Order. As a Jedi Master, Windu truly became infatuated with lightsaber combat. Feeling there was a darkness within him, Windu began the groundwork for a new lightsaber form in which he desired to channel his negative emotions through. Although Windu served the Jedi Order above all, he adored a challenge and a good fight. The Jedi Master, although he often struggled to admit it at first, desired power. Because of this, Windu created the form called Vapaad. The form was meant to highlight one's own inner darkness and use it to channel their blade without letting it corrupt their spirit. By using this form, Windu attempted to walk the line between the light and the dark and even somewhat touch the darkness, but not allow the lull of power to set in. The final product of the form was a variant of Form 7 lightsaber combat, which had to be approved by the Council, as Form 7 was a previously outlawed lightsaber fighting style among the Jedi, due to its emphasis on ferocity and dark side-fueled emotions. Mace's Vapaad was only allowed to be practiced by students specifically selected by Mace Windu. Mace even ended up rejecting Anakin Skywalker from learning the form due to his arrogant and rogue nature. In the end, there were only two other prominent practitioners of the form, Mace's former apprentice Deepa Billaba and the Jedi Master that helped Windu create the form in the first place, Sora Bulk. Unfortunately, the power of Vapaad proved to be too much for these Jedi, as Billaba was temporarily lost to the darkness, and Bulk was lost forever. Because of its thin line between the light and the dark, Vapaad was essentially a dark side trump card. In its purest form, the form created a loop between the practitioner of the form and their adversary. At its peak, the form drew the darkness out of an opponent and fueled it back through the user of the style. What this meant is that if one's opponent was engulfed fully in the dark side, they would essentially be fighting against themselves, as their power would move through the user of Vapaad and back out again. However, Vapaad was only ever achieved perfectly a single time, with Mace Windu's duel with Darth Sidious, which I believe was due to Sidious's full, unflinching allegiance to the dark side of the Force. Vapaad was described as appearing to lack all grace and tact, and to be completely randomized and impossible to predict. The form was swift and power incarnate. Vapaad was also extremely difficult to keep track of, as the sequences were blindingly fast. In Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin enters the room in which Windu and Sidious were dueling, he describes not even being able to see the two warriors clearly, as their movements are so quick. Vapaad could also be used unarmed, as Windu could again channel his darkness through physical strikes. At the end of his life, Windu was considered the best lightsaber duelist alive, as he had defeated the likes of Sora Bulk, General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, and even to some extent, Darth Sidious. Of all his talents, his skill with the blade was his most useful and prized. Windu could piece by piece dismantle armies with his lightsaber, and few Force users have ever lived that come close to the esteem of Windu when concerning the blade. In his aptitude with the Force, Windu was also notable. Windu inherited the rare Force ability known as Shatterpoint, which allowed a practitioner to perceive weaknesses in the Force. What resulted of this was the ability to sense weaknesses in an opponent or even physical structures. If Windu perceived a Shatterpoint in an enemy, he could follow it to its source and often find a way to prevail against them. Windu was also extremely notable in force-based physical augmentation, which allowed him to pull off feats not otherwise possible. Windu could fall unharmed from great distances and tear apart battle droids with his bare hands. His speed was also impressive, and although he was not quite as swift as Yoda, few rivaled him in this department. Windu was somewhat versed on mental probing, although he rarely used it, as it was most often associated with Dark Jedi and Sith. In addition to walking the line between the light and the dark with his lightsaber, Mace also occasionally did so with the Force, as when pushed to it, Windu has been shown using the ability Force Crush, most notably on General Grievous. This ability is a violent one, and highlights a moment Windu embraced the more aggressive side of his personality. Of all Windu's traits, his dedication was perhaps the most admirable, and perhaps the reason why he could dabble in the darkness but remain firm within the light. In any moment, Windu would give everything for the Order. Some Jedi, however, criticized his more harsh nature, as some believed he held some students of the Order to too high of a standard. Windu is without a doubt one of the most combatively brilliant warriors in the Star Wars universe. Because of this, defeating him outright may seem an impossible task. A very, very minor weakness of Windu may be his inability to detect manipulation and misplaced faith in the Order he served. Although not a weakness concerning his strength and power combatively, it was the weakness that destroyed him and the Order he served. His refusal to conform to the way of the people and opponents if they ended up altering his steadfast beliefs. Admittedly though, this is a flaw of the Jedi Order as a whole, and not just specifically Mace Windu. So that was my evaluation on the power of the Jedi Master, Mace Windu. So what do you think? Where do you think Mace Windu ranks among other Jedi and Sith? Is he on the top or at the bottom? Feel free to leave suggestions for future How Powerful series, as I love doing them. If you enjoyed this video, could find the time, and feel it deserves it, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like, as it helps the channel out a great deal. If you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date with everything Star Wars related, from news, theories, and explanation videos. If you would like to make a suggestion for a future video, please feel free to comment, or follow me on Twitter @stupendousswave, as I am most easily reached there. Thanks again so much for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.